This is Mike Ross, public address announcer for your Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is the Leafs Late Night Podcast, your post-game destination. And now, your starting lineup: Roscoe, the Fanalist, Suthy, Biehner, and Darty Brodeur on the Leafs Late Night Podcast.
Brady sucks. Brady sucks. Brady sucks. Honestly, whoever started that, because those things always start with one person making a chant, and then everyone joins in, and then it spreads. Whoever started that must feel like a fucking champion right now.
Did you notice by the end of the game they were saying "fuck Brady" instead?
No, I didn't catch that. Wow, I got there was the Allmark chants. Like, the crowd was in it tonight, which is something we love to see because it's always the complaint, and nobody's really into the game at home, but the playoffs is just a different beast. Man, what I'm going to find pretty crazy, and I know what's going to happen, is someone's going to start Brady Sucks when they play in Ottawa. And there's going to be enough Leaf fans that it's going to happen.
I was telling my girlfriend that too. I'm like, we're going to hear that in Toronto and then in Toronto too.
Yeah.
Which is Ottawa.
Oh, yeah. Did you check out ticket prices, by the way?
Yeah, we were in a queue to get some, but the password, they sent it to us like 15 minutes late, so we couldn't grab any. And by the time they did, it was like $500 for the cheapest ticket.
Yeah, so when I checked on when I was on StubHub or whatever, it was $450 for the cheapest ones in the nosebleeds per ticket.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't spend $1,000 to go to a game. That's just
can't do it.
It sucks because it's half an hour down the road, but here we are. Can't do it. In this economy? Come on. So I know it's been a while, but hey, playoffs are like a whole new season. So what better time to jump back into it than with the second half season in the playoffs, right?
Agreed.
Now, Battle of Ontario, first time since 2004. We got a Domi and a McCabe, but other than that, it's a lot different. What were you guys feeling coming in? How do you versus, I guess, previous years where it's been Boston or Tampa or Florida or Boston or Tampa or Florida? What was the feeling coming into this one?
The feeling
you want to go first, Suthy?
Yeah. The feeling felt a lot different because how long has it been since we haven't played a Florida team or a Boston, right? So there was that whole new sense of refreshment just playing this new team. And for once, Toronto is actually like the seasoned veteran team coming into it. And they showed it tonight. Like Ottawa really showed their inexperience in playoff games, and that's kind of the sentiment I had before this game started tonight.
That's a good point. Like every time we've gone against these other teams in the past, it's not just that, they've been really good teams. It's that they're teams that have either won the cup recently or, were in first place all season on a historic run. Like these have been really tough teams to go up against. So, and teams that have been in the playoffs multiple times. So this really young Ottawa team, they really sloppy tonight with the discipline. But Biehner, what'd you think?
I think I messaged in the chat before the series started that typical Leaf fan, right? I was super excited for the series. Obviously, Battle of Ontario, I have very fond memories of the early thousands Battles of Ontario because they were amazing series. I will never, ever forget the Nieuwendyk goal on the Liam. But at the same time, the Leafs will leave. Despite the fact that the team has been different this year for many different reasons, there's still always that nagging fear in the back of your head, right? That something bad's going to happen. That the team that we're supposed to beat, that we're not going to beat them, and they're just going to make us look like fools, and
Yeah, look, I mean, they were 0-3 against the Sens this year. They barely scored against them. It was, but how much do you put into that? The Leafs are bad against the Sens like 85% of the time anyway. It's tough to gauge it on that, but I mean tonight it was completely different. But for me the nerves set in, I think, about when I sat down and turned the game on. Like it wasn't until then that I was like, oh shit, this is game one. Like this is all hitting me all over again. Like it doesn't matter that it's just the Sens. I say just the Sens. Like we're in the playoffs. It's anything can happen.
I think to Biehner's point, there's always that point, like it's the Leafs. You're always going to be a bit concerned about it, but there wasn't this ominous gray cloud that it's Florida or Boston. Having to be the Sens just felt a little bit different this time around.
Yeah, for sure.
And the team's been completely different all year. Like a third of the games the Leafs played this year have been 1-goal games.
1,000%.
And in those 1-goal games, we only lost, I think, 8. Like it's completely different.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, with talking about it being completely different, I gotta come out and take this one right in the face. I thought OEL would be gone by the trade deadline, and that wasn't going to work out. And here we are. He scores the first goal of the playoffs tonight. Where I have a button for him too, don't I? Oh my gosh, where'd it go? Here.
And here's Oliver Lawson-Tossum.
Oliver Lawson-Tossum.
He might have been their best defenseman tonight.
Oh, I have to agree, especially coming back not at 100%. Like he was stellar. It's the shot that
we're grimacing a few times out there too. Like you can tell he's not playing 100%, but he gave it his all tonight. And like I said, I think he was their best D tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, like kudos to Riley for scoring. I think the last couple of games he's really been picking up. They mentioned I think he was +6 in the last 3 games. So him and Brandon Carlo playing well together. They've said on the broadcast. I'm not going to take credit for this point, but like having Carlo there really lets Riley just be Riley. Yes. Which is something that he's, not had for a very long time. There's still the odd time where he's in front of the net and he has to be the defenseman on the play, and it's a little not so hot. But the fact that he does get back to what he's good at instead of, trying to be the way they described it was he has his foot on the gas and the brakes at the same time, which I think is the best way to put it.
Go ahead, Biehner.
I was just going to say there's always been defensemen like that. If you look at just after the lockout with Montreal, you had Markov, right? Great defenseman, offensively gifted, but when you took Komisarek away from him, he was almost nothing.
Yeah.
Right? They need that safety blanket of having someone.
Well, it's funny when they were showing the previous lineup from 2004, slotted in, I think the same spot that Riley was Thomas Gaberle, which is like the best comparison to him the Leafs had right before him. Because it's just like, he had a great shot. He scored. Defensively, just give him the right partner and he was okay. Mm-hmm. But, when you least expected, he was going to put one in the back of the net.
He did. And he makes mistakes. Like he gave up that puck at the blue line, which led to that Kachuk breakaway. That was a pretty bad play, but he scored a pretty important goal for us tonight.
No kidding. That from like the blue line just about tips off. I don't know whose arm it was, but just becomes a knuckle puck at that point. And good luck.
I think it's the arm of Highmore.
Yeah.
The core 4 tonight just really breaking all the stigma. Hopefully we can keep it going for more games. Knock on wood. This is just game 1. But I mean, the performance from all of them was there, and including Nyes, to add to it. And I mean, that's really what Berube was saying coming into this. I think they said his line to them was something along the lines of, if you just perform, then it'll come to you. Like, just do what you do, essentially.
And they've been able to do it all season. And it's not like if you looked at it from the outside and you saw Matthews' stats, for example, take a snapshot of those, everybody would be like, oh, he had a terrible season. Okay, yeah, he got injured. He didn't score 70 goals, but he really took on the leadership role and rounded in. Like, this was his Yzerman year. He rounded out into that.
Yes.
We've been saying for years that he's an all-around player and defensively he's great, but he really took that to heart this year. And there's not once where you could ever say he was anything close to being a liability. Just his entire game. He's a threat offensively. He's incredible defensively.
I think it was the perfect year to give him the C, the way it all shook out. Like, he really stepped into the role better than I think anyone would have expected him to, or as well as anyone would have expected him to.
Yeah.
And on the same note, I mean, John Tavares, come on. But sorry, Suthy, you got another point.
Like to Biehner's point, like in the regular season, they weren't putting up the same points they were, but they were also playing a whole different style of defensive play. Everyone was collapsing towards the net. They were eliminating second chances all year. So the breakout started from pretty much the hash marks inside their zone, opposed to around the blue line where it was last year. So you're not going to get as many chances, but you're also not nearly giving up as many chances from the other team. And tonight, the core four had 9 points. Matthews didn't score, but he had a couple beauty assists. And what you said about Nyes, like when he blocked that shot and came back to the next shift and then scored again, he's just this massive body in front of the net, and he's really, really like rounding in the form there.
I couldn't believe before the game they compared Brady Sucks and Matthew Nyes were the two that had like, I think it was over 140 or 170 assists and more than 25 goals. Like, so Brady's as effective as like our 5th best guy. Cool, great. This will be a fun series.
Didn't really see Brady up there too much tonight.
No.
Nyes has given me like prime Roberts vibes.
Yes, that's a great comparison.
When he has to, he can shoot from anywhere and beat you, and then he is just a bulldog who he doesn't care. He'll skate through you to get to the net, and if you want to fight him, he'll fight you and throw you on your ass.
I want to see him throw hands with somebody, because next game, it's going to start like right at puck drop. The way this one ended, come on.
Do you think so? I think Ottawa plays a whole different style of game next time. Like in the first period, Stützle had like 8 hits. And that's not the style of play that he should be playing for them to be effective. And the whole Ottawa team was kind of just, they were playing a game that they thought was a playoff style, where Toronto had the vets and they played like a playoff style.
Yeah, they were playing like it was game 7 in round 3, and nothing's going to get called. And it's not that in game 1 of round 1, guys. Like there was a graph I saw where it's like the amount of power plays on average per game per round, and the first 3 or 4 games of round 1, it's like just way up and then drops off a cliff.
100%.
Like, and those are the things, like if I can find that on Twitter, your assistant coaches should find that same stat and maybe tell everybody, hey, don't throw hands and cross check everybody in the face in the first game.
I've never seen so many cross checks.
Well, the cross checks were freaking terrible tonight. But
pushes, as Brady said at intermission. You can call them cross checks or pushes or whatever. Yeah,
they zoned in on the one. Tavares was against the boards battling for a puck, and Cousins is behind him, literally taking about 7 straight cross checks to the kidney. Like it's just absolutely mind blowing. But none of the penalties were really. It's not like it was like, okay, the officiating is terrible tonight. Cross check to the face, that's going to get called. The Tanev one could have been boarding, it could have been interference like that.
Yeah.
Or the Stützle on Tanev. Like it wasn't geez, these officials are terrible. It was actually a well-reffed game.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Like aside from that call at the end of the period.
That's not our bias wearing blue.
No, and I mean, they even handled we can talk about that now, but the cross-check to Tavares, calling it a major immediately to go review it, like that's the proper procedure. Like,
yeah,
they don't have to do that in the playoffs. They can just say whatever, we're either going to call it or we're not. It's this time, but they're following the same procedure that they set up, and consistency is the only thing we're asking for. With that being said, what do you guys think of that getting reduced to 2 minutes?
Like, as a Leaf fan, obviously I didn't like it, but if you look, I don't agree with players doing that because it's a dirtbag move, but he was kind of just getting it up. Yes, to be a little aggressive, but also to protect himself, and it did clip the shoulder first. It's not like it went straight for the face. I'm not saying it's warranted, but I can see why they knocked it back down to a 2.
Yeah, I think he was cross-checking South, and to piggyback on Justin's point, if it were a couple percentage points harder, then maybe the 5-minute major stands. But as it was, I think it was a borderline play, and I'm okay with the 2 minutes.
I agree. I'm glad you guys think the same. The thing that everybody freaked out about, and rightfully so, is that it's basically what Morgan Riley did, and he got a 5-game suspension for it. So
the difference with that is Riley chased him down and directly cross-checked him in the face.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like there was with Riley, there wasn't a hit coming and I've got to protect myself. It's I am skating 4 city blocks so that I can knock your teeth out with my stick.
Fair enough. So I agree that if we're going to call it 2 minutes, it should be 2 minutes every time. If you're headhunting, yeah, it's got to be more. But I think if they want to really cut down on headshots, they got to figure out what they're going to, like, where the line is going to be. Like, if the play is dangerous enough that, oh, well, it started here, but it went up. It's like, okay, well, then you're still playing in that area where we're trying to take away the potential of someone getting a concussion here. Like,
I think
I
that
understand
was
the
the
way
line.
the rules current. Yeah, exactly. See, like that's where I think like this is right now as the rules are written, but I think they, maybe should start having a conversation about, I don't want more penalties and I don't want things to get, blown out of proportion, but like if they are going to start protecting guys' heads, then they got to draw the line somewhere at like
you're not
things
wrong.
that could potentially go wrong. Like if you're being careless and that slips up too far and catches them a little harder, like you said, if it was a little bit harder, then that could have been danger. So I think it was just under the line in 2 minutes. It was probably,
but like to your point too, like the refs did the right thing there. I think they called the 5-minute major, which allowed them to review it. They took the time and I think they got the call right.
Yeah, and look, it's not like the Leafs needed more power play time tonight. Holy shit! I don't think I've ever seen a team score 3 power play goals with like the first 10 seconds of the power plays. That was insane.
That was crazy.
Right off of 2 faceoffs, and then the third one I think was like almost right after the faceoff.
I believe it was 8 seconds, 3 seconds, and 9 seconds, or something like that.
That's insane.
Ridiculous. Oh my god.
The Willie shot. So as a goaltender, I don't know what Allmark is supposed to do there. You have a guy who just potted 45 goals this year coming directly into the slot, and then you have a guy who has scored over 60 goals the previous 2 seasons with his stick touching the rafters. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Who do you... Yeah, exactly. And that should be the play all the time with these guys. And I'm glad they figured it out. Like, yeah, they went, what was it, 1 for 18 coming into the playoffs in the last little bit, but this should be the play when you've got 5 powerhouse forwards like that. Just who's going to shoot? You never know.
That brings me like to the point I want to talk about next is how do you feel about Allmark? Because he let in 6 goals, but not all of them were his chance, all his fault rather. But at the same time, at the other end, Stoller's made some saves that Allmark didn't make. So how do you feel about Allmark if you're a Sens fan right now?
So Kelly Rudy broke it down really well on the panel, which not that I like giving the sports panel any kudos, but
especially Rudy.
Brutal.
If you look at all the goals, realistically, from a goaltender's perspective, what is he supposed to do? Like, at the end of the day,
fair enough.
The Tavares, so it was a tip from the slot that the rebound came out. Well, a rebound off of a deflection, you're 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be able to control it. And then Tavares turns around and buries it. The Nylander goal, like we just said, Matthews is tickling the rafters, waiting for a one-timer. And if you look at Nylander, his legs were about 14 city blocks apart. And how he can get that velocity and that accuracy on that shot when he's standing the way he was.
The sound of that hitting Allmark's pad was beautiful.
Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. Like, okay, yes, you would have liked him to have some of those, but at the end of the day, they weren't crappy goals.
I agree with you 100%.
And like we said with Riley's, there was the one that went off someone's arm. Like,
ideally, you want him to have a save or 2 in there, but at the same time, like, if you're a Sens fan, you're not blaming Allmark for this tonight.
No, I think this is all on the discipline of the forwards. Like, Batherson himself alone had, like, 10 penalty minutes tonight at least?
He had a lot.
Yeah, I want to see the breakdown of penalties here. You guys...
Well, and then the Marner goal, like, that was a crazy, ridiculous defensive lapse by the Senators there.
Breakaway chance with the guy who's been dynamite on breakaways this year.
Yeah. So it's not... I'm not ready to say he's pulling a Lalime yet.
No. But if you're Allmark, he's got pretty bad numbers in the playoffs at this point. I wonder how he's feeling about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's you would think it's got to be getting to him,
especially like if Toronto gets an early goal next game.
Yeah, And you could see even with the way he was kind of toying with knives there at the end of the game, holding them in the crease, right?
Can I get to just penalties?
Well, penalty numbers, yeah. Speaking of interesting numbers, here's a funny stat. None of the Leafs defensemen cracked 20 minutes tonight.
Whoa.
Matty Nyes led the team with 22-29.
Holy. Good for them for spreading that out.
Well, and Berube's been doing that a lot over the course of the last handful of games of the season to try to make sure nobody was just completely gassed, right?
Yeah.
Because people were questioning him, like, oh, why is Nylander's minutes cutting back? Well, Nylander doesn't play penalty kill.
Yeah.
Matthews and Marner do. But aside from that, everybody's minutes are getting cut back because he's rolling 4 lines.
Meanwhile, Shabbat and Sanderson on the other side played 26-40 and 25-50. So
wow,
a lot more. So penalty minutes here: Kachuk 2, Highmore 4, Stützle 2, Batherson 4, Amadio 2, Cousins 10, Grieg 2, Gaudette 4, Jensen 2, Mantipalo 2, Clevin 4.
You sound like the ref at the end of the game.
He had to come up with like a CVS pharmacy receipt to read all those numbers out.
I don't remember seeing that before.
What's that? 8, 10, 14, 16, 20.
There was the one game, I can't remember who the ref was. I want to say it was Sutherland, but it probably wasn't, where something was going on towards the end of the game, and he just came to the mic and just said, everybody that was on the ice is given a 10-minute.
Wasn't that the Toronto-Ottawa game too? If I'm not mistaken?
54 penalty minutes total.
For
tonight.
some reason,
Either way,
I
do
it had
remember
to
it.
do with the Rangers.
You could be right.
54 penalty minutes tonight, 36 for the Sens.
That's insane.
By the end. I mean, most of that comes right in the last couple of minutes. Which, let's talk about that. How do we feel about how the Sens handled this this final minute of play here?
Well, there's a Kachuk on the team, so it makes sense.
And a Grieg, who isn't he the one who took the slap shot on the net?
He is?
Yeah.
He was their fucking best player tonight, too. But
he was everywhere.
Yeah, it's their first playoff game in so long. This group has never been to the playoffs before, so I kind of expected them to be a little undisciplined, and maybe they just figured if you can't beat them on the scoreboard, let's take a little bit of their skin at the end of the game and bring that into game 2. But
are they like trying to get Ryan Reeves drawn into the lineup? Like, is that the whole play?
Maybe, I don't know. I think it's for naught, but
oh boy. We've got a couple questions here that kind of pertain to this. So Matthew Kahn asks, how much of a playoff game was this? Honestly, not it's a playoff game because it's a playoff game. How much of a game was it compared to previous years against teams like Boston, Tampa, or Florida? Because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking this was playoffs light from Ottawa.
As much as you want to say that, it still was completely different. Like, he was only credited, I think, with 1 hit, but Marner was finishing every play, every check. Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
And Robertson, too.
Marner was battling in the course.
Yeah, it was completely different, and even from previous years, and I don't know if that's the Berube factor or if that's just the guys getting fed up and, seeing that they have a chance to actually make a little bit of a run this year. But they did deserve it. You win the division, you have that opportunity. So I think it definitely, from a Leafs perspective, it definitely was a playoff game in every aspect of the word. Stellar goaltending, great defense, team play. Like, every single player was coming back. Matthews blocking shots, Nyes blocking shots. Everybody playing well defensively and playing as a cohesive unit. And then from the Senators' point of view, maybe doing a little bit too much, trying to get that pound of flesh all the time, even when they were still in the game. But also the fact that you guys already pointed out, this is the first, aside from Giroux, Amadio, and Perron, I don't think any of the other players on the team had ever played a playoff game.
Yeah. So this was 100% a playoff game for Toronto. It was just a different dynamic than when you're used to playing a veteran Boston or whatever Florida team. So they had a different pressure of coming out and being the vets and handling these small situations like they did extremely well tonight, and whereas Ottawa did not.
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as it's nice to say like the Sens, you know, they're a wild card team. The Leafs finished in first in the Atlantic, so they have the upper hand there, and it's a feeling that we don't normally have. So yes, it feels a little different than I guess fighting up or like the second, third thing in the Atlantic that is basically still fighting up because they're the most insane division. But you can still blow like having all these power plays. Like I said, the Leafs were 1 for 18 coming into this. They could have gotten all these chances from the Sens being undisciplined tonight, and they could have not capitalized on it. Like they still had to play a proper playoff game to take advantage of all the mistakes the Sens were making, right? Like, you know, it's not like we said with Allmark. It's not like he had a chance on any of these goals. Like they were all insane. Like they did exactly what they needed to do. It wasn't, you know, he missed some easy shot, like, or, you know, lost a rebound or something.
Exactly. Like if the Leafs had a checklist, they had good goaltending, their core four scored, they didn't take too many penalties, they had a great home crowd, like they aced the test tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely feels like, I guess you could call it, I understand why you'd say it's playoff light, Matthew, because it's like it felt almost too easy because of how perfect of a game they played, but they very easily could have not. So I think it was
2-1 at one point too. Like Ottawa had their chances. Like Stolar's made some really great saves to keep him in it.
Yeah, there was a point in the second I was like, it's probably going to be 4-2 coming out of the second period, and it's going to be basically like next goal wins in the third. So
and it did get to 4-2.
Yeah,
and like I said earlier, they've been building on this all year. The third of their season playing those 1-goal games, it got them comfortable playing in a situation where, you know, they don't have a 6-goal lead and they can just do whatever they want. They have to battle, they have to finish every play, and they have to not have those lapses in judgment.
Yeah. So next question here from Southpaw Cal, fun guy. Lorentz, Lawton, Yarncroke, better playoff line than the Domi line?
After one game, yeah.
At this point, yeah.
Those guys were incredibly reliable. Every time they were on the ice, they were almost always in the send zone, and they were making responsible plays. They weren't giving up too many chances, and Lawton had that beauty assist too.
Yeah, Lawton's one that I was really unsure about. You know, after we got him, he took a while to find his footing here, and I'm still, we'll see. But I guess this is what it's for, right? Like, Lorentz was seemingly built for this, and he's come into his own this year. So, yeah, I'm glad that line is like a really effective checking line. It's like, again, they said on the broadcast, like, the bottom six can be about scoring in the regular season, but come playoff time, it's just about, like, hammering and surviving sometimes. And, you know, I think the Leafs are better built for that than the Sens are.
Well, and you have, like, those bottom six players have that ability. Like, you have someone like, depending on what line they're playing or how many minutes they're getting, Nicky Bobby or Bobby McMahon, you know, in that floating around that middle six area, both those guys can put the puck in the net as well as anybody. And then you have Mr. Game-winning goal in Lorentz. Like, the guy scored 8 goals this year, and 5 of them were game winners.
Yeah, when they said he had 5 game winners, I actually had to like stop and like think about it. I'm like, what? How is that even possible? Like, I don't even think that guy scored 5 goals this year. But that's it. Okay, 8.
And they could have had one more too. Like Yarncroke put one right off the post. If his hands weren't full of lead all the time, that's in.
Yeah, look, and I'm not saying that their bottom six is built to hit people and can't score, but it's no secret that their bottom six scores a lot less than most other teams does. Like, there's a couple standout guys, and when they do stand out, they usually get promoted to the second line out of the bottom six, and then it kind of erases the effect anyway.
Yeah.
But the top six also scores a lot more than most other top sixes do.
That's true.
That is exactly how the team is built. So last one here from Mike the Fanatic. Okay, I don't know if you guys know the story here.
We do.
Do you know this?
Let's hear it for the fans.
I know some of it, but go on.
So, despite a 4.5-hour flight followed by a 4.5-hour drive, the passion level is at 167 right now. Where do each of you stand, and do you expect the Leafs to have a response to the Bush League stuff from the Sens in the final minute? Go Leafs, go. So, If you do not follow Mike the Fanatic, Mike had a very unfortunate run-in. You can check it out on X, Twitter, whatever. Had tickets for game one, but even I, who went home to my parents for the weekend, thought the game was on Saturday. I think everybody kind of assumed Sens and Leafs, they would put the game on Saturday, but nope, it's Sunday. So unfortunately, Mike had to fly home Sunday this morning and miss the game and sell the tickets. And I feel absolutely awful for him and his wife. That's just a nightmare scenario. I can't imagine sitting in the airport, just dreading that. Ugh, horrible. But the question stands.
I personally, I think a couple of the guys will be a little more on edge, but when you have a coach like Berube that is a little bit more of that old school style, like he's giving me Pat Quinn vibes right now. Not that I want to take anything away from Quinn, because Quinn was a legend, but I don't, aside from maybe McCabe or Benoit, the guys you would expect to have a little bit of snarl, Carlo, Domi, I don't think you're going to see anything too ridiculous. I still don't think Reeves is coming into this playoff series unless we get a whack of injuries. And you don't want to go down to their level. Because they're doing all that, that's because we dummied them. So yeah, 5-on-5, there was a lot of chances both sides, but look at the score. We dummied them. They wanted their pound of flesh to try to hurt us. If we stoop down to that level, it's just going to bring the series into the mud, and we won't get a chance to close it out as quickly as we want to.
Agreed. And firstly, Mike, sorry about your situation. We're all rallying behind you, buddy. But to your question, 0%. The Sens had a terrible first playoff game, and they let their emotions get carried away at the end of the game. And there's 0% chance the Leafs are going to fall into that trap. They've played way too many series against really good teams, and I feel at this point they have the experience to not be drawn in by that type of behavior at the end of the game. They're going to play their game. They're going to play what Berube wants him to do, and that's certainly not it.
Yeah, as long as the penalties are getting called, they're going to keep trying to draw them if Ottawa's going to play like this. If it works, it's in Ottawa's court now to change their style. It's the Leafs, just have to do what they know works and adjust if the Sens somehow figure something out. But like I said, right now it's on the Sens to get their shit together, because it's a pretty sloppy game one from them. And like we keep saying, the inexperience showed, and I don't know. I don't think bringing more fight to this is going to fix anything. I think they responded just enough tonight, getting involved whenever it was going to be offsetting penalties or, everybody on the line's getting into it. But I think they handled it pretty well, and just keep doing that.
They
laugh it off.
This game, they stood up for themselves. They didn't stand there and just get ragdolled, but they didn't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
Previous Leaf teams with the narrative of always being soft, or they can't do this, they can't do that. They kind of get goaded into playing whatever style the opposing team's playing, gets us off our game, and then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Whereas we've been playing the same style all year. Even when we have a shitty game, we still play the same style.
That's a really, really great point, because Toronto dictates the way that Toronto plays right now. Where, like you said, whereas in other playoff series, they would get drawn into the other team's plan.
Yep.
Yeah. If you can come out of game one setting the pace for the series, you've already won. My dad actually texted me. This is the Ed's text of the night. He said he can't remember, other than maybe the Habs series, when the Leafs in the Matthews-Marner era have won the first game of their series. And I actually had to check. They did not win the first game of the Montreal series. But in the era that they've had this core, they've beaten Tampa once and Boston once in game one. Otherwise, they have always lost the first game of the playoffs.
Wow.
I was going to say, I knew one of the Boston series they did because I was super excited about it. But aside from that, typically it's lose game one, come back and win game two to settle the fans down and go from there.
That brings up to my point. What I said earlier, like if the Leafs had a checklist, I bring some stuff off earlier, but winning game one would also be on there. But also having 2 goals from a defenseman in the Boston series last year, they've only had 1 goal the whole time. Marner only had 3 points that series. He had 3 points tonight. Like everything was just going our way tonight.
Contract year, Marner.
Very good start. Off to a very good start. I love it. Yeah, and really, like these guys, they haven't signed anything because I think the team's waiting to see how this all shakes out, and we shall see. Next game's on Tuesday, and it's in Toronto again, right? Yeah,
correct.
So more Brady Sucks chance. That'll be fun. Oh, I think that's it for questions. Thanks for sending those in, guys. But one thing I wanted to touch on, because somebody mentioned it, the 5-on-5 being pretty even. They mentioned this on the panel after the game too. Like, sure, we can look at the fact that like the Sens outshot the shit out of the Leafs, but for some reason they always do. Like at different points, like every Sens Leafs game that I've gone to in person, the Sens get like over 40 shots. It's just kind of how they play.
Also, look at their shot chart too. Like a lot of it is from the outside.
Yeah, the Leafs scored 2 goals on 4 shots, and the Sens were up to like 12 shots already with no goals. Like, I don't care how much they're able to get on net if it doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't think that's really winning 5-on-5, just having the puck somewhere and getting a shot off.
It got to a point that they had to actually go back and double check what the actual shots were and adjust the shot counter because it wasn't believable.
They changed it so many times tonight. They kept going back. Oh, no, take one away. Oh, no, take one away. It's like, oh, keep doing it. It makes Ullmark's save percentage even worse.
That's been the MO all year, though. Like, the Leafs have been outshot so many games this year, but they're typically from the outside. They're controllable, and there's not usually too many second chances. So that's the whole style of play they're playing right now. It's collapse.
Yeah. They've been absolutely demolishing goalies' numbers by scoring a bunch of goals on very few shots. And so how many games do we think Stolarz is going to play in this series?
All of them.
As many as it takes.
Yeah, you think they just ride him out? They're not gonna.
I don't think he loses this net unless he plays like 2 really bad games in a row, which I don't see happening.
Yeah, as much as I love Wall, Stolar has been on a tear, and he's earned the right to take this and run with it.
100%.
Deal. Why have the Panthers and Lightning not started yet, and why do they only play game 1 on Tuesday? Wow.
Same with Montreal.
It's got to be something to do with stadium availability. That's the only thing I can think.
Because this is like way out of whack. Some teams started on Saturday, and then 4 days later, other ones.
What a nice break for those guys, though, eh?
Well, yeah, and it's going to throw off if like some team wins in 4 games and another series goes to 7. There's going to be like really weird breaks. Like teams are going to have to wait like a week and a half to start their next series.
Is that what's going to happen, or do we run into a thing where the second round runs into the first round?
Well, didn't they do that last year where there was like the other round was still going? Yeah. Oh, this is going to be such a mess. That being said, though, with Tampa and Florida, who would you rather take on if the Leafs are through to the second round?
Tampa.
Realistically, in my view, it doesn't matter because both teams are formidable opponents. Tampa might almost even be a little bit of a dark horse right now because nobody thought anything about them all season.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the position we always wanted to be in, right? We were always in that 2-3 matchup, and okay, this is tough. And then whoever, like, if we end up winning, we're going to be facing another juggernaut. Okay, yeah, we are facing another juggernaut, but they're going to be beating the living shit out of each other in the mangroves with all the friggin' alligators down there in Florida. Like, so it's a good position to be in. Obviously, you don't want either of them. I'd rather be playing Carolina or Montreal, but if I did have to choose, honestly, I would probably say Florida just to fuck them.
See, part of me is like, yeah, I want to finally beat Brad Marchand again, but like, I think Tampa the Leafs have had Tampa's number all season, and I know, like, that counters my argument with what I said with Ottawa, where they lost every game, but I don't know. I think it's
kind of like a
you said, it's kind
TSN
of a toss-up.
analyst.
They've both got the playoff experience. They've both got pretty, like
Great
good
goaltending.
goaltending and like star forwards. It's pretty much 6-1, but I think the Leafs have more experience playing against Tampa in the playoffs than Florida, so I think Tampa.
I think Florida is a bit nastier too, and
Right?
they might have a chance of drawing Toronto into that type of game, whereas I don't think Tampa can.
Like Bennett and Marchand doesn't sound like a fun round two,
It doesn't, but they are going to be expending a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
energy and a lot of emotion in this Tampa series.
Whoever
Not to
comes out
mention the
there,
fact that it's been a couple years since we faced Tampa. I don't know if you guys remember how fucking dirty Nick Hall and Kucherov are.
That's true.
yeah,
Like,
Forgot
it's
when
not
Nick Hall-
going to be any better.
I mean, we say this like the Leafs aren't going to be bruised coming out of an Ottawa series if this goes, a bunch of games, right?
Does it go a bunch of games?
Also, the fact that if they did end up,
Go ahead.
obviously I want the Leafs to win, but I'm not trying to be, biased and saying they're going to go all the way. So say they beat Ottawa, get the second round against Florida. Say they beat Florida. Nobody could ever put any kind of asterisk against that playoff run
No.
to eliminate both Kachuk brothers and Marchand in the first two rounds of the playoffs.
It's
That would be
insane.
sweet. And then you face whoever comes out of Montreal, New Jersey, Carolina, and Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that
Which-
comparatively to the Florida teams.
Any of them I'm fine with. Over literally Florida and Tampa are like the Atlantic sucks, man. I hate this division. Ugh. Like you can take all the other ones and say, yeah, let's just put it 1 to 8 and see what happens. Oh, it's the same. Except the Atlantic throws it all off.
It's a tough road.
Well, the Central's a juggernaut right now. Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado.
Oh yeah, that's insane.
Fair.
Yeah, it's wild.
Speaking of, how many games do we think this is going? And then I want to touch on that one.
Oh god, I don't want to say this, but I think 5.
See, I
Six-
want to say
six
5,
maybe.
but I'm going
I-
to say 6.
I say 5.
I on my little NHL bracket that I entered, I had Leafs in 6. Just trying not to be too overconfident. But on the other side, I have this is the only one I want to talk about. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I have St. Louis beating Winnipeg.
We can go through them if you want. Rapid fire.
Okay, all right. I'll just list them. I have St. Louis beating Winnipeg, Colorado beating Dallas, Vegas beats Minnesota, LA beats Edmonton. Carolina beats New Jersey, Washington beats Montreal, Florida beats Tampa.
I think I'm. So, who did you have in the Vegas miniseries again?
Yeah, let's do it.
Vegas.
Let's do it series by series here. All of us.
Okay. So Winnipeg and St. Louis.
Winnipeg. 6.
Yeah, I'm thinking Winnipeg and probably 6. The Hellebuck factor. St. Louis got hot, but they're not quite what they were.
They're my weird horseshoe team. I think they're gonna go to 7, and St. Louis is gonna win.
Whew.
I also have Colorado in 7 over Dallas.
I think that's going 5, and we'll see a bunch of changes in Dallas in the offseason.
Ooh,
I'm
that's
Colorado
bold and
in
spicy.
5.
Colorado is a freaking wagon.
Especially with Landeskog back now too. Whoo-wee.
How insane is that? It was like 1,000 days this guy's been off.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's
and he's like my age.
Yeah.
So
For those who don't
Patrick and
know,
I decided, early 30s, but Patrick and I decided to go for a run last week. For people who don't know, I got on as a volunteer firefighter, so trying to get in better shape, blah, blah, blah. So my son and I go for a run, and we end up running 2.8 kilometers after not having run in ages. I could barely walk all week last week. And this guy goes like 3 years without playing and just
plays like what, 2 or 3 AHL games, and then he joins for the playoffs.
Yeah,
like
I couldn't imagine.
The only person that no one's gonna bat an eye about, like the long-term injured thing. Oh, you were just stashing him till the playoffs. Fuck off! This guy literally, no one thought he was gonna play again. The fact
I can't
he's
imagine
back is a miracle.
And like to Biehner's point, I had a push-up competition with my 8-year-old nephew on Friday for Easter,
Oh, no.
and I thought I was having a heart attack all day Saturday. I was ready to call 911 with my chest.
Oh god. Okay, I got Vegas in 6 over Minnesota.
See, I think that one's going 7, and I actually picked Mini on that one.
Oh shit!
I have Vegas in 7. I think that one's going to go long.
Okay, I got LA in 7 over Edmonton because this team's coming in hurt.
Oilers in 6 for me, just because I like. Yes, Edmonton's hurt, but it's almost that Toronto-Boston thing. For some reason, Edmonton's got LA's number. They've had it. This is like the 4th year in a row they've met in the first round. And that star power, like, as much as I hate going to that, because that's the narrative everybody's doing. But McDavid, Draisaitl, those two alone, just, that's enough to get you at least past the first round.
Yeah,
I mean, that's true. We did see Draisaitl score a shit ton of goals not moving when he was hurt, literally standing on one ankle, so...
4 years in a row is wild, but I agree with Biehner. I think 7 games for Edmonton. Eventually, their skill is going to win out. I hate their goaltending. I don't like their D, especially with their big guy out now. But yeah, I got them in 7.
Okay, I got LA in 7. We'll see. Carolina, I have in 7 over New Jersey.
So my brain says Carolina, but the shit disturber in me says the Devils, because Keefe would get past first round the first year not being with the Leafs.
Oh my god. And I think Wes McCauley's reffing the series too. So
oh god. I have, and I had it before this. I had Carolina in 6 before what happened today, but I have them in 5 now. I think with Hughes out and Glass out,
by his own goalie, if you missed it.
I don't love New Jersey in this series whatsoever.
It's funny, I saw on New Jersey Devils Twitter that they're actually worried about like Wes McCauley and Sheldon Keefe's relationship. Like, they've looked into this whole thing. They know the backstory.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
someone from Toronto talked about this. They have a friend in Toronto, and now they know.
Yeah.
Oh no, but we were just full of shit. And we were reading into
a real thing.
No, they're actually like scared now. Capitals and Habs. I got Washington in 7.
Wow, the distance.
Look, this is like the Leafs and Ottawa, but like less so, because it's experience against the young team, and like as much as I love where Montreal's at, that's why I think they're going to go to 7 as opposed to where I have Ottawa only going 6 with the Leafs. I think Washington's like experience is just gonna be the edge, and like Ovechkin's just on another level this year.
What it reminds me of is when the Leafs played Washington. Eventually, Washington's skill and experience won out, so I think Washington in 6 games. But it's going to be a tight series.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any blowouts. I do agree with you that it's going to be a tight series, but I don't think... I really don't think Montreal has a chance to advance. Like, yet again, I don't think they're going to get blown out, but I think Washington has it.
Okay, then finally, I picked Florida in 6 as much as I don't want them to win. I just think they're probably going to beat the shit out of Tampa, like physically. Like, their skill level's the same. Their goaltending's pretty much like they're a pretty equal match for each other. It's just going to come down to the fact that, like you said, Kucherov and Nick Paul are pretty dirty, but like, I don't know, Florida's like been building a goon squad over there.
I actually have Tampa Bay in 7 on this one, and I think it's going to be like a bloodbath, like you said. But I think the way Vasilevsky has played this year, he's going to carry them over the top, over Bob.
He definitely has the ability to.
When they like. Nobody really talked about it because they had a decent year, but Florida's defense core kind of took a hit over the summer, right? Like,
oh yeah,
Ekman Larson played a big role. Montour played a big role. Ekblad, at this point, is still suspended. Like,
Yep.
How long is he
So they
suspended
did-
for?
I think he's only missing the first game of round 1. He might be missing the first 2 though.
Okay. Well, that about does it. And then what did we have for the Leafs? I had them in 6.
I had him in 5.
5.
I want to say 5, but I say 6.
Right. Okay. Last thing I want to finish with here, complete out of left field, away from the Leafs and playoffs. There are 4 players that are the only player representing their country. 4 countries that have 1 player representing them. Can you name either which countries those are or who they are?
In the playoffs?
No, just like in the NHL, there are 4 active players that are the sole representative of their country.
Slovenia. With Anze Kopitar.
Well done.
Oh.
Who he alone has more points than the next like 8 countries worth of players. Like
This is a good one.
He has more points than, and I'm not going to name the ones you guys are still looking for. He has more points than the active players from Slovakia, Norway, Latvia, and Belarus, among a couple others. I'm not going to tell you.
I'm stumped. I got none.
Yeah, none of the other ones jump to mind. I'm not my typical Galaxy being this season with all my recruit training going on, so I'm not going to delay it anymore.
Oh, buddy,
Okay,
by the final round of this playoffs, it'll be sharp as a knife.
Okay, so I'll give you this. So number 15 on the list here with 166 points from the Netherlands is
Wait, only 166 points?
yeah.
He was on Anaheim. Wasn't he?
I believe you are correct. Yeah.
Why can't I think of his name? I won't get his name.
No, I got nothing, man. I'm dumb tonight.
Currently plays for New Jersey.
The only Dutch on New Jersey. No, who is it?
Daniel Sprong.
Oh, okay.
Next, we got from France, 90 points. Born in 1999.
Oh, 99.
Plays for the St. Louis Blues.
St. Louis Blues. The only Frenchman I can think of is Bellemare, because Pierre-Edouard Bellemare was from France, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. You say that like he's dead. He just retired.
Yeah,
Gone
He's
but
still
not
around.
forgotten.
He is still from France. Yeah.
I don't know. You're making us look pretty bad here, buddy. I think you should just ring him out.
It's Alexandre Texier.
Oh,
I wouldn't have gotten that.
although
And
I did not know he was on St. Louis now.
guys, he's going to be so disappointed. Luke Man out in Australia, represented by one sole player, Nathan Walker.
I don't remember if Walker was still in the league or not.
Yeah, me
He
neither.
was he was all over the news. What was that? 4 years ago?
He also plays for St. Louis, funny enough.
They'll take anyone.
Yeah,
So there
pretty
you go.
much.
They're the other weird one on here. Austria and Norway each have 2. Marco Rossi and Marco Kasper, which is funny. They're both named Marco
Oh, yeah.
from Austria. And Norway, you got Zuccarello and Liljeberg. But yeah, there's a couple really like I wanted to see. This started with me checking like the split of Canadians and Americans and Swedes and Russians and whatever. Like if this was around the 4 nations, I think was like who would be the next one in.
Yeah.
And number 5 is Finland, obviously with Russia, but then there's Czech Republic is the next one down. There's only 29 players though, versus like Finland has 56, Sweden's got 97.
That's a pretty big
Canada's
drop.
got 420. Happy 420, by the way. It is
There you
420.
go.
But yeah, it drops off pretty hard between like, 3 to 6. So anyway, yeah,
it's a big drop.
Fun facts of the day. There are 4 countries with 1 player.
What about Danes? There's not many Danes. I know Freddie.
There are 6 from Denmark. We've got,
Oh, really?
Ooh, can we name the Danes?
Not a chance,
Only
buddy.
there's 3 relevant ones.
Isn't Nikolai Ehlers Danish?
Yes, that's one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Ehlers and Frederick Anderson, obviously.
Who else?
Oliver Bjorkstrand and Lars Eller.
Oh, Eller. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's about it. Anyway,
Bjorkstrand, I
thanks for
thought he
tuning
was
in.
Sweden.
I know, right? Like the Bjork. I don't know.
How dare you?
Bjorkstrand. Yeah, add the
All
strand.
the
to
Nordic
end.
countries, right?
Yeah.
If there's a J in it, I'm like, ah, shit. I don't know which country it's in.
Shit.
They're all Vikings.
Oh, God. Okay, that's about our hour here, so we'll sign off. We'll be back probably Tuesday. Let's do it.
I think so.
Keep it up.
Sounds good.
Thanks, gang. Send in your questions next time and all of that jazz. Where's my outro? Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Ciao.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Leafs Late Night, your night of post-game podcast. Available after every game on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and more.
I accidentally wore Cabela's camo sweater, so now this has to be my playoff charm. Unfortunately, I can't change it. I'm going to watch every game wearing it.
You're doomed.